The ship hummed with a low, steady vibration as it cut through the cold emptiness of space. Eli leaned back in his seat, staring at the black expanse outside the viewport. Thousands of stars stretched endlessly, each a tiny point of light, distant and indifferent. He had been on interstellar transports before, but this journey to Nova Prime felt different. The colony promised opportunity, a fresh start, a place where humans could rebuild after decades of scattered wars and failed settlements. Yet Eli felt only a heavy quiet inside him, as though the galaxy's vastness had swallowed his hopes before he even set foot on the new world. He adjusted the straps of his seat harness and tried to focus on the other passengers. Most were absorbed in their private devices or huddled in small clusters, whispering and laughing. Children ran down the aisles, their shoes clattering against the metal floor. Crew members moved efficiently, checking systems and exchanging short nods with each other. Everything seemed normal, predictable, and yet there was a subtle tension in the air, something he could not name. The moment passed as quickly as it arrived, and Eli let his gaze drift back to the stars. Then he felt it, a presence beside him. He glanced sideways and froze. A woman had taken the seat next to him. That in itself was not unusual. The cabin was crowded after all. But the way she carried herself made him pause. She did not apologize for sitting there. She did not glance around nervously, the way most strangers did when invading someone else's space. She simply smiled, a faint curve of lips, and her eyes shimmered faintly, like sunlight on water, catching colors that did not belong in human vision. "You must be Eli," she said, her voice soft but commanding. It was familiar somehow, though he had never met her. Yes," he stammered, unsure how she knew his name. "I have been waiting for you," she continued. She leaned slightly closer, close enough that he felt the warmth of her presence, but not uncomfortably so. "Tell everyone you chose me," she whispered. Eli's stomach turned. He blinked, certain he had misheard. His first thought was that he should move, tell her to leave, or call for assistance. But curiosity rooted him in place. She did not seem dangerous, at least not in any way he could recognize, and yet her words pressed against his mind, insistent and strange. I don't understand," he managed. She smiled again, faintly amused. "You will," she said. There was a calm certainty in her voice, a confidence that made him doubt his own instincts. She looked at him as if she knew exactly who he was, as if she had always known. For the next few minutes, Eli tried to focus on the normal hum of the ship, on the other passengers, anything to anchor himself to reality. But the moment he looked at her again, she was watching him, her gaze soft but piercing, unblinking. He felt a flicker of fear, but beneath it, something else, a strange, almost magnetic pull. The intercom crackled, announcing an unexpected system alert. A voice, metallic and calm, repeated the words twice before cutting off. "Course deviation detected. Emergency protocol engaged. Prepare for immediate assessment." "Is it safe?" he asked, though he knew the answer would not calm him. "It is necessary," she said. "Do not fear, you will see soon." The stars outside tilted slightly, and for a heartbeat he feared they had been ripped from their path entirely. "Everyone remain calm," the intercom repeated. "Course deviation confirmed. Emergency maneuvers initiated." "Not yet," she replied. "It is too soon for explanations. Just watch and you will understand." She merely placed a hand gently on the edge of his seat, a small, reassuring gesture. The warmth of her touch was not entirely human, he realized with a strange, sinking certainty. The ship's lights flickered as it adjusted its course. Outside the viewport, stars streaked across the blackness, a river of light bending in impossible ways. Eli's stomach churned. He had experienced turbulence before, but this felt different, unnatural. "You can look," she said softly. "It will not harm you." The woman's eyes reflected the shifting patterns, calm and untroubled, while Eli's own reflected pure astonishment. "They cannot interfere directly," she said, "but they will try to intimidate. That is their way. You must learn to see beyond it." "And so are we," she replied. Her tone was almost casual, as if discussing the weather rather than something that defied the very understanding of life. The intercom crackled again, announcing the arrival of a nearby outpost. "Nova Prime emergency landing protocol activated. Estimated docking in 15 minutes. We are going to land there. You will see how extraordinary you truly are." They were sleek metallic, but their design was unlike anything he had ever seen. No markings, no insignia, only smooth surfaces and sharp angles, and for a brief moment he thought he saw the same shimmer in the air around them that had surrounded the transport. "Do they mean harm?" he asked, unable to keep the tremor from his voice. They are testing, she said simply. Testing your species. Testing you. Eli followed her, still shaken, still unsure of everything he had just witnessed. Outside, the cold air of Nova Prime rushed in. The alien fleet had disappeared, leaving only the stillness of the outpost. Eli's heart pounded. He glanced at her, wanting answers, wanting certainty, wanting normalcy, but her expression was serene, almost knowing. "Welcome to your next step," she said. "Everything you believe about humanity will be tested here." Her eyes met his, shimmering faintly in the dim light, and she said again, softly but firmly, "Tell everyone you chose me." And for the first time in years, Eli felt the smallest flicker of certainty, that the galaxy, vast and indifferent though it might be, was about to notice humanity in ways he could never have imagined. The outpost was quieter than Eli expected. The cold air of Nova Prime carried a faint metallic tang, and the distant hum of machinery echoed across the barren landing field. Crew members and colonists moved efficiently, their faces serious but focused. Everyone seemed to sense something unusual, though no one said it aloud. Eli, carrying a small pack of personal equipment, followed the woman, Lyra, through the docking doors. Inside, the outpost was a maze of narrow hallways and low ceilings, lit by bright, sterile lights. Computers and panels lined the walls, showing blinking signals and streams of data that most humans did not understand. Eli's mind struggled to keep up with the information flowing past him, but Lyra walked as if she belonged there, her presence calm and assured. "You move well for a human," she said quietly. Most would stumble in these halls, nervous and distracted. But she was here walking beside him, close enough to feel warmth radiating from her. And yet she was otherworldly. "You are noticing things that others do not," she said. "That is good. Observation is the first step toward understanding, but be careful, not all who watch you wish well." She paused and turned to look at him fully, her eyes reflecting a faint, strange light. "There are beings observing this colony. They are curious about humans. Some are indifferent, others less so. Their interest is not always safe. But this, the idea that someone or something was watching from the shadows, studying humanity like an experiment, it was terrifying. "Can they hurt us?" he asked. Lyra smiled faintly, as if the question amused her. "They can try, but not all threats are direct. Some are tests, challenges meant to measure. You will see soon enough." They reached a small observation deck overlooking the colony grounds. Lights flickered along the perimeter, and in the distance, tall structures glowed faintly against the reddish-brown soil. Vehicles moved along the flat terrain, carrying supplies and personnel. At first glance, it seemed normal, ordinary human engineering, nothing extraordinary. But then Eli saw them. A group of shapes hovered near the edge of the colony. They were humanoid vaguely, but their outlines shimmered and shifted like a reflection in rippling water. He blinked, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. The shapes were still there. They did not move like humans. They floated, drifted almost silently, and when Eli focused on one, it vanished for a moment before reappearing elsewhere. "Who are they?" he whispered. Lyra did not answer immediately. She placed a hand lightly on his arm, her touch gentle and grounding. "They are observers," she said finally. "Not all of them are hostile, but some will challenge your species. That is their nature. Humans are unusual, unpredictable. That is why they watch." "Why are you here with me?" Yet standing beside her, looking at the shimmer of the watchers outside, he could not deny a growing sense of importance, a thread pulling him toward something larger than himself. Lyra led him to a small control room overlooking the colony's central hub. Screens displayed the colony's energy usage, security systems, and the movement of vehicles and personnel. Eli leaned over one of the panels, his fingers hovering over the controls, feeling at home among the machines. "You understand these systems quickly," Lyra observed. "That is why you were chosen to accompany me. Your mind works differently from most. You can adapt. You can create solutions others would not consider." "That's all." "Their intentions are not always clear, and their methods are subtle." "They are learning," she said. "They are cataloging every action, every choice humans make. That is how they understand, and they will judge based on what they see." Humanity had always been small, fragile, fighting for survival on a tiny planet. And now, floating in the vastness of space, he realized they were being observed by forces far beyond comprehension. He felt both fear and pride, a strange, heady combination. "Why help me?" he asked finally. "Why guide me?" "And because I believe in you. Humans have something rare, creativity, courage, resilience, qualities they do not expect. You will need to see them in yourself before others do. That is what will make you extraordinary. Watch carefully, and you will understand. At one point, a maintenance drone malfunctioned unexpectedly, sparks flying from its circuits. Eli moved to intervene, and Lyra's hand rested on his back, steadying him. "You see," she said, "they test indirectly. They provoke, they observe, they measure. That is how they understand strength." He felt a surge of pride and relief. Lyra's eyes glimmered faintly, as if acknowledging his success. "You are learning," she said softly. "The Watchers do not know what humans are capable of. You will show them." The temperature was colder than expected, the thin air sharp against his lungs. Yet he felt a strange clarity, a focus he had never experienced before. The colony lights glowed softly, and the shimmer of the Watchers moved in the distance, silent and patient. "You will need allies," Lyra said, breaking the quiet. "Not all humans will understand you, but some will. Seek them carefully. Trust must be earned." And through it all, Lyra remained at his side, a calm presence, guiding him, observing him, challenging him without words. As they returned to the observation deck for the night, Eli could not shake a sense of destiny pressing upon him. The Watchers were patient, silent, measuring, and waiting. Humanity's true nature would soon be revealed, and he would be at the center of it. Lyra looked at him one last time before they settled. "Remember," she said softly, "tell everyone you chose me. That choice matters more than you realize." And in that quiet moment, as the colony lights blinked below and the distant Watchers shimmered at the edges of his vision, Eli realized that his life, and perhaps all of humanity, was about to change forever. The next morning, the colony stirred with activity. Eli moved through the central hub, carrying his tools and scanning the systems that powered the settlement. Nova Prime was still young, its structures functional but sparse, with most of the heavy work done by automated machines. Humans were settling in, setting up homes and workshops, but there was a quiet tension in the air, a nervous energy that Eli could not ignore. Lyra walked beside him, calm as ever, her presence drawing attention even though no one seemed to comment openly. Eli had grown used to the subtle glimmer in her eyes and the way her voice carried authority without effort. It was strange, disorienting, and at the same time reassuring. He felt safer with her near, as if she could sense danger before it arrived. "You need to understand," she said, her voice low, "that not all of these people will accept what is coming. Some will resist, others will fear you. But that is normal. Humans are cautious by nature. You must lead by example." He had never thought of himself as someone who could inspire or guide others. Yet, as he looked around the busy hub, he realized that every decision he made had consequences. Every repaired system, every directive could affect the safety of the colony. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed along the walls, and the colony's intercom crackled with a harsh voice. "Security breach detected. All personnel report to defensive positions immediately." At the edge of the settlement, Eli saw the Watchers. They were no longer distant shapes. They moved deliberately, floating above the colony with a precision that was unsettling. Their forms shimmered and twisted like liquid metal, and their presence carried an unnatural weight that made Eli's skin prickle. "What do they want?" he whispered. "They are testing," Lyra said. "Their goal is to provoke, to see how humans respond under pressure. That is how they measure courage." Lights flickered, doors jammed, and communication signals crackled unpredictably. Colonists panicked. Some ran for shelter, others tried to regroup at defensive stations. Eli felt the weight of responsibility press down on him. Machines and systems he had helped maintain were failing under the Watchers' interference. Every malfunction could endanger lives. "Follow me," Lyra said. She led him toward the central control hub, a reinforced building with multiple monitors and access to the colony's defensive systems. Eli followed, moving as fast as his legs could carry him, heart pounding. Inside, Lyra gestured at the displays. "See," she said, "the Watchers do not expect humans to solve problems quickly. They anticipate fear. They anticipate hesitation. But humans are unpredictable. That is why you have an advantage. You already know how." She watched, her calm presence steadying him even when the odds seemed impossible. The drone struck again, pulses of energy disrupting lights and doors, but Eli's quick thinking and the colony's defenses managed to neutralize several. Colonists began to rally, inspired by his example. They moved to assist, following his directions even without fully understanding the systems. Eli felt a strange pride swelling in his chest. Humans could rise to the occasion, he realized. They could adapt and overcome even when the danger seemed overwhelming. Lyra spoke softly. See, humans are not what they seem. They are stronger, smarter, more resilient. That is what the Watchers do not expect. And you are proving it. At one point, a massive pulse struck the central hub, knocking out several systems at once. Eli felt his stomach drop, but Lyra's hand steadied him. Focus, she said. Think creatively. Humans do not need to follow patterns. Use that. That is your strength. A few colonists joined him, working under his direction, their fear replaced by determination. The system stabilized, lights flickered back on, and automated defenses resumed partial function. Eli realized that the human capacity to improvise, to find solutions under stress, was astonishing even to him. The Watchers hovered silently, observing. They did not attack further, at least not directly. Eli could feel their presence, their scrutiny, and he knew they were measuring every decision, every action. But he also sensed something else, respect, or at least recognition. Perhaps humans were more than the Watchers anticipated. As the night fell over Nova Prime, the immediate danger receded. The colony was battered but functional, and the humans who had faced the challenge were exhausted but emboldened. Eli stepped outside with Lyra, looking at the quiet landscape. The reddish-purple sky shimmered faintly, and the Watchers were gone, leaving only a faint ripple in the air. You did well, Lyra said. Better than most would have. I just led them. For the first time, he understood that humanity was extraordinary, not because of advanced technology or powerful weapons, but because of its capacity to adapt, to endure, and to act in the face of uncertainty. He looked at Lyra, her eyes shimmering faintly in the dim light. Why are you here? Why help us? He asked again, the question burning in his mind. Because I see potential, she said simply. Humans are unpredictable. You are capable of things my kind cannot imagine. I want to see you grow, and I want to help you survive. That is why I am here. He realized that she was not just guiding him for her own purposes, but because she genuinely cared about humanity's success. The next morning, Eli woke early, exhausted but alert. The events of the previous day had left a lasting impression. He moved through the colony, checking systems, talking to colonists, and ensuring that preparations were made for any future incidents. Lyra walked beside him, silent for the most part, letting him take the lead while offering subtle guidance when necessary. You are changing, she said quietly. You are beginning to see yourself as more than an observer. You are becoming a participant. That is essential. Humans have a strength that even the Watchers cannot fully comprehend. You just need to believe in it and in yourself. It was in these details that he saw the essence of human resilience, adaptability, creativity, and courage. Lyra observed silently, her presence a constant reminder that humans were not alone in this trial. She did not intervene unless necessary, allowing Eli and the colonists to learn through experience, to make mistakes and correct them, and to prove their capabilities. By evening, the colony was stabilizing. Systems were repaired, defenses were reinforced, and the colonists had gained confidence in their ability to handle threats. Eli felt a sense of satisfaction unlike any he had known before. He had led, he had acted, and he had inspired others. And in doing so, he had begun to understand the truth behind Lyra's words. Humans were extraordinary, even in ways they did not yet realize. As the stars of Nova Prime's night sky stretched endlessly overhead, Eli stood beside Lyra, feeling a quiet determination settle within him. The Watchers would return, he knew, and humanity would face further trials. But he also knew that humans could rise to meet them, that courage and ingenuity could outmatch even the most advanced observers. Lyra placed a hand gently on his shoulder. Remember, she said softly, tell everyone you chose me. That choice is more than personal, it is symbolic. It marks the beginning of something greater, for you, for humanity, and for the galaxy. For the first time, he felt a spark of something powerful, hope, determination, and a sense of purpose that stretched far beyond the boundaries of Nova Prime. Humanity's true nature was beginning to reveal itself, and Eli was ready to play his part. The morning sky of Nova Prime was tinged with pale orange as Eli walked along the colony perimeter. The events of the previous days weighed heavily on his mind. Though the colony had survived the initial tests from the Watchers, the humans were on edge. Everyone seemed more alert, more tense, and Eli could feel the quiet hum of fear mingling with determination. Lyra walked beside him, her gaze scanning the horizon. There was a serenity about her that Eli envied. She seemed calm even when the unknown loomed, even when the Watchers, those strange, shimmering beings, could appear at any moment. He wondered how she could maintain such composure. "They will return," she said quietly. "And this time their test will be more direct. Humans must be ready. We have no idea what they are capable of." Some trusted him, some doubted him. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him, heavier than any machine he had ever repaired. But he knew she was right. Leadership was not about certainty, it was about action, and humanity's survival depended on it. By mid-morning, an alert sounded across the colony. The monitors in the central hub showed multiple anomalies at the perimeter. Drones, smaller and more numerous than before, had appeared, their forms shifting and shimmering like liquid metal. They moved with a precision that was unnerving, scanning the colony's structures and vehicles, touching systems with pulses of energy that disrupted circuits. "Eli," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm, "this is your moment. Humans must prove themselves again. Are you ready?" His voice carried authority now, not arrogance but confidence born from experience and necessity. "Focus on the perimeter," he shouted. "Use auxiliary power to reinforce barriers, coordinate with all teams, don't let them disrupt communications." The drones struck, sending pulses of energy that flickered through systems, but humans met each challenge with ingenuity. A few makeshift barriers absorbed the pulses, while automated drones countered the attackers' devices. Lyra stood nearby, her presence steadying him. "You see, humans are not what they appear," she said. "They can adapt, innovate, and persevere. That is why they are remarkable." Hours passed and the drones became more aggressive. They attempted to bypass defenses, attacking key systems, but Eli and the colonists held firm. They worked together seamlessly, learning from each minor failure, improving after every strike. Eli realized something profound. Humans thrived under pressure. Fear and uncertainty did not paralyze them, they sparked creativity and courage. At one point, a massive pulse struck the central hub, knocking out primary systems. Lights went out, alarms blared, and the building shook. Eli's stomach dropped. Colonists froze, unsure how to respond. But Lyra's hand on his arm grounded him. "Think differently," she said. "Humans do not follow patterns, that is your advantage." He quickly rerouted auxiliary power through redundant circuits, stabilizing critical systems. Some colonists joined him, improvising solutions he had never considered. Together, they restored communications and defenses. Eli felt a surge of pride and relief. Humans had adapted just as Lyra had promised. By afternoon, the immediate threat receded. The drones withdrew, though the watchers lingered at the edges of the colony, silent and observing. Eli stood with Lyra on a ridge overlooking the settlement. The colony was battered but operational. Humans had survived a direct challenge and proven their capacity to endure and adapt. "You see now," Lyra said softly, "humans are extraordinary. The Watchers underestimated you because they cannot predict creativity, courage, and the willingness to act when others hesitate. You showed them what humanity is capable of." They were creative, resilient, and courageous, qualities even the most advanced observers could not fully anticipate. As evening approached, Lyra led Eli to a secluded area outside the hub. She looked at him seriously. "This was just the beginning," she said. "The Watchers will return. Their next challenge will test more than your systems and strategies. It will test your trust, your unity, and your judgment. You must prepare humans not just to survive, but to thrive. That is what will set you apart." The colony was becoming more than a settlement. It was becoming a community capable of facing the unknown. Lyra spent much of her time observing, offering guidance only when necessary. She did not take control. She allowed humans to learn through experience. Eli realized that this was part of her plan. Humans had to prove their worth not through her power, but through their own ingenuity and courage. One night, Eli stayed late in the central hub, reviewing logs and repairing systems. The sky above Nova Prime was dark, dotted with stars. The Watchers shimmered faintly in the distance, but for the first time, Eli felt less fear and more resolve. He understood that humanity's strength was not in technology alone, but in creativity, collaboration, and courage. Lyra joined him quietly, her presence comforting. "You are ready," she said softly. "Humanity is ready. The Watchers will learn what we already know, that humans are extraordinary." "I still don't understand everything," he admitted. "Why you're here, why you help us, why the Watchers are testing us, but I believe you." Lights flickered as systems came back online, vehicles moved along the perimeter, and colonists continued their work. The settlement was far from perfect, but it was alive, resilient, and determined. Humanity had faced a direct challenge and emerged stronger. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember," she said softly, "tell everyone you chose me." That choice symbolizes something greater than ourselves. It marks the beginning of a new chapter, for you, for humanity, and for the galaxy. And he, just a simple engineer, was at the center of it all, guiding others and proving that humans could face the unknown with determination and ingenuity. As he finally stepped outside to rest, the last light of day fading over the colony, Eli felt a spark of hope. The Watchers might return, new challenges might arise, but humanity had shown its potential. And with Lyra at his side, he was ready to lead, to inspire, and to face whatever the galaxy could throw at them. The colony of Nova Prime was alive with activity at first light. After days of attacks and tests, the humans had settled into a rhythm, repairing damage, reinforcing defenses, and training to meet future threats. Eli walked through the central hub, his eyes scanning screens, his mind focused. The colony was stronger than before, but he knew the Watchers were not finished. They were patient, precise, and persistent. Lyra walked beside him, her presence calm and radiant. Even after everything they had faced, she moved as if she belonged in the colony, her gaze shifting constantly to monitor both human activity and the distant shimmer of Watchers. Eli had grown used to her presence, though he still marveled at the subtle alien qualities she carried, the faint glow in her eyes, the way she seemed to understand outcomes before they happened. "Today will be decisive," she said softly. "The Watchers will attempt to provoke a final response. Humanity's true qualities will be measured. Your actions will determine how they perceive your species." The Watchers were no longer testing systems or defenses. They were testing humans themselves, their courage, their ingenuity, and their ability to act under pressure. The alarm sounded abruptly. Red lights flashed, and an automated voice repeated a single word over and over. "Intrusion! Intrusion! Intrusion!" Hundreds of shimmering drones hovered above the colony, pulsating energy that disrupted equipment and infrastructure. Their forms shifted continuously, liquid-like and metallic, moving with a precision that was impossible for humans to predict. Lyra placed her hand on Eli's shoulder. "Focus on humanity, not fear. You have done well before. You will do well again." They were not the same fearful humans who had panicked during earlier attacks. Now, they moved with confidence, improvising solutions to unexpected problems. Vehicles were repositioned to create barriers, automated drones were recalibrated, and defensive shields were rerouted to absorb the Watchers' energy pulses. Eli directed operations from the central hub, but he also moved between teams, offering guidance, reassurance, and encouragement. Lyra stayed near him, occasionally pointing out subtle cues that humans might miss. "Notice the patterns," she said. "Their movements are precise but predictable. Humans can use creativity to disrupt expectations." "That is your advantage." Eli barely noticed the passing of time. Sweat ran down his face, and his fingers moved quickly over panels, repairing damage and coordinating teams. The colonists, inspired by his leadership, displayed extraordinary courage. They ran toward danger, improvised solutions, and adapted continuously, proving to themselves and to the Watchers that humans were not to be underestimated. At one point, a massive pulse struck the central hub. Lights flickered and alarms blared, sending colonists into momentary panic. Eli froze for a heartbeat, but Lyra's calm hand steadied him. "Creativity, Eli," she whispered. "Use what you know." Humans thrive in unexpected situations. The Watchers hovered silently, observing every movement, measuring every decision. Eli could feel their scrutiny, but he no longer feared it. Instead, he felt determination. Humanity would prove itself, and he would be the one to guide them through it. By evening, the attacks began to wane. The Watchers pulsed their energy once more, then retreated to the horizon, shimmering faintly in the twilight. The colony was battered but intact. Systems were functional, defenses had held, and the colonists, exhausted but triumphant, gathered to assess the results. Eli stood with Lyra on a ridge overlooking the colony. Lights flickered across the settlement, machines moved to repair minor damage, and colonists worked together to restore order. The scene was chaotic yet alive, filled with the quiet determination of humans who had faced an overwhelming challenge and survived. "You see now," Lyra said softly. "Humans are extraordinary. You have proven to the Watchers that your species cannot be underestimated. Courage, creativity, and unity, these are your strengths. That is what the Watchers cannot predict." And he, a simple engineer, had been given the responsibility and the privilege of guiding them. Lyra looked at him, her expression softening. Now the Watchers will leave you at least for a time. You have shown what humans are capable of, but your journey is not over. There will be other challenges, other opportunities. Remember what you have learned. Trust in yourself, trust in your species, and trust in those who stand beside you. You have proven you are ready. I chose to help them, Eli said quietly, thinking of Lyra. I chose to lead, to guide, and I chose to believe. That choice matters. As he walked through the colony, he watched the colonists working together, sharing knowledge, repairing machines, and preparing for the future. Their determination was infectious, a living testament to the resilience of the human spirit. He understood now that the Watchers' tests were not punishments, they were opportunities. Opportunities for humans to show their strength, for Eli to discover his own potential, and for the colony to become more than just a settlement. Lyra stayed nearby, silent but ever-present. She did not need to speak. Her presence was enough to remind Eli of what was at stake and what had been achieved. Together they watched the horizon, where the faint shimmer of Watchers had disappeared, leaving only the vastness of space and the endless possibilities it held. You did well, she said softly. Humans did well, and you have proven yourself. You have shown what can be accomplished when fear is met with courage, when uncertainty is met with creativity, and when individuals act together for the greater good. He had chosen to act, and in doing so, he had revealed the strength that lay within himself and within every human around him. You know, he said quietly, I think we've just begun to understand what humans are capable of. And the galaxy is beginning to notice as well. And Eli, standing beside Lyra, understood something that went beyond survival, beyond leadership, beyond courage. Humanity had a place in the galaxy, not as pawns or observers, but as equals. And he, just a simple engineer from Earth, had played a part in making that reality possible. Lyra looked at him one last time, her eyes shimmering with a light that seemed to hold the entire universe. Remember, she whispered, tell everyone you chose me. That choice marks more than a bond between us. It marks the beginning of humanity's journey into the stars. And as he looked at the colony thriving below him, at the people working together, at the stars stretching endlessly overhead, he knew they were ready. The galaxy had witnessed human strength, and humanity had chosen to rise. And in that choice, Eli saw the promise of a future where humans were no longer just survivors. They were pioneers, innovators, and equals among the stars. Nova Prime stood as proof, shimmering under the alien sun, a testament to what could be achieved when humans trusted themselves, each other, and the guidance of those who saw their potential. Eli knew the journey was far from over, but for the first time he felt certain. Humanity's future was theirs to shape, and the stars were waiting. And as he stood beside Lyra, feeling her quiet strength, he whispered softly to himself, I chose this and I chose her, and together we will show the galaxy who we are.